Hello. I think we are live. I'm gonna go share this really quickly.
Awesome. Yeah, I can see it.
Awesome. Cool. Nice. So Amanda, how are you doing today? I know it's been kind of an adventurous day, right?
Yeah. So we're managing. We have a lot going on here at the farm, so we're just trying to go with the flow.
I feel it. I feel it. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for joining me here today. After just following your journey on Facebook and hearing your stories and just your inspiration and passion, I was like, I have to talk with her. So I definitely appreciate you taking the time out to speak with me. Real quick, I'll just give a brief introduction of um, what my brand is, basically, and then I will introduce you, and go ahead and get started.
Great.
All right, so my name is Kendra Atkins. I'm the creator of One Right Effort. The purpose of One Right Effort is to just shine light and spread awareness on people who are truly living out their passions in whatever aspect of life that may be. So whether it be like their business, their art form, or just of life in general. And so that's exactly what Amanda is doing. Like I said, that's why I just felt like so like called to speak with her. So Amanda is a mom, a wife. She wears so many hats, and she's also an entrepreneur. Without further ado, if you guys would please help me give a warm welcome to Amanda.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for having me on here. It's a great honor and a pleasure of mine to be able to educate, empower, and inspire other women to follow their passion and their dreams.
For sure. I'm loving this outfit. Like, you look beautiful, and let's see what your shirt says. With Jesus in her heart and essential oils in her home, she is unstoppable. Loving it. I'm excited to hear. We'll definitely hear more about the essential oils later on. But just thanks so much for joining me here. So, for the people watching today and everyone who doesn't know you, if you just want to give us like a brief intro about who you are and kind of what you do.
Yeah, so from a young age, I have always felt compelled to help others. And as life progressed, I made some not so good choices. Just some people follow the wrong path. And it wasn't up until I became a single teen mom did I really have the desire to build a life for my child that I never had. And so me and my husband, I bumped back into him. He was my childhood best friend's brother. And so we bumped into each other shortly after my son was born, about 6 months old. And we just kindled, we just meshed together so well. And so for the past 10 years, we've been building a life for our children that we always desired for ourselves. And with God's help, we have finally got to a place where we feel like we've been called to just change and transform and inspire others to do the same for their lives.
Wow, such an impactful story. I love to hear so much also about like blended families because it's so common in America, especially, I would say, so that you guys were able to kind of come together and um, create that life that you've always dreamt for yourself. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Um, for today, kind of we'll talk about some of the roles that you hold, and then at the end, kind of get into your business ventures. So that's exciting. If you want to start out, so I was looking on your Facebook page. This morning, and you posted kind of a traumatic story, and I'm like, oh shoot, like I'm hoping she's okay. Does she still want to meet today? So like, what happened? What was it, that crazy story?
Okay, so we have chickens and well, we had some ducks, and we've had some intruders coming in and plucking our flock per se, and taking out some of our chickens. And last night, a raccoon got in. This is the intruder that we've tracked down. A raccoon got in the coop a little bit after dark and mangled my female duck. And that was so traumatic. My husband come running in to grab the rifle to possibly protect our flock from this raccoon. And by time he got out, the raccoon was gone. And that's when he discovered my duck's beak was just all mangled. She was in shock. She was trembling. She was fearful. And I could tell she was in a massive amount of pain. And my brother, he farms in Kentucky. And so I immediately called him and asked him, you know, Bub, this is what's going on. What should I do? And he said, you know, I hate to say it, but you're gonna have to put her down. And I'm like, I don't know, like I can't, you know, I don't know if I can do this. And he's like,
Right.
sis, it just comes with the farm life. Sometimes we have to do things that we don't like to do, but she's suffering. You can tell she's in a great deal of pain, and it is our job to kind of just make things go away per se. So me and my husband got the courage, and we took her out, and yeah, we put her down. And so that was pretty traumatic. That was the first time that we had to do something like that, but through prayer and supplication and all these things together, me and my husband were able to get through that with lots of strength, you know. And it's divine how the Lord works. And I believe in that moment in time, he gave me the strength to get through, because any other time I probably would have been an emotional wreck and not been able to see left from right. And in that time, I was able to stay level head and think the process through and take care of what needs to be done.
Wow. That's like super, like a super traumatic story on like so many levels. That you guys even had the courage, like you said, to actually do that. It's crazy how, you know, when you do, like, I don't have a farm, so I have no like experience on how anything of that nature works. So, you know, I would like to hear that as well, but just how you like form attachments with these animals. And like, you know, animals have kind of like so much comfort, especially in like, you know, certain times challenging times that we might go through. I know that was the first time that you guys had to do something like that. Just what, I guess, kind of like, what has that farm life been like for you? I know we had the opportunity to chat a little bit before, that you kind of never imagined actually like having a farm. You always inspired to have one. But besides, I guess, the bad points, what kind of experience has that been like for you?
So it has been a great experience on many levels, from learning to tend to them, care for them, and like you said, grow attached to them, kind of learn their little personalities. And the one duck that we lost, her name is Big Mama. And her name is that because she was a little on the chunky side, and she seemed to always protect her companion or her mate. And so we just always called her Big Mama. And then, you know, we have other ones that we've kind of given names to too, just by seeing their personality and their traits come forward. But it hasn't, it has given us a sense of being able to provide for our family. You know, we get to collect their eggs, and we get to eat their eggs, and we get to provide meals for our families and others in the community too. We will sometimes sell our eggs to friends and family. Sometimes we'll give them away if we have an overabundance, and someone just, you know, asks for a blessing. But also, it's taught my children responsibility to take care of other animals per se, or other parts of our family. And so they will help me go out and open up their coops in the morning and let them out, fill their food bowls, their water dishes or buckets. They're kind of like buckets. So we have to take those from the coop out back to a way. It's quite a ways to the front yard to the hose, which is safe drinking water for them. And so it's been really rewarding. We're putting a lot of work into it, but it's very rewarding too, to be able to have this way of to feed our family.
For sure. Now, you guys have ducks and then chickens. Do you guys have like any other animals, or just for now, is that kind of what you have?
Yeah, that is a great question. So for me personally, I want more. I'm like, "Ooh, I've got this taste of the farm life, and so I have the desire for more." Now we don't have a lot of land, so we are limited on the amount and what kind of farm animals that we can have, because we are actually um, we're close to the village of Downs in Illinois, but we are tucked back in the woods a little bit, so we're technically considered county, and so
Okay.
we are able to have some farm animals, but I don't want to disturb the neighbors that are quite a ways. We've heard them make comments, that they hear our roosters and such
Oh
like that
man.
too. And so right now, I think the chickens and the one duck that we have left, is good, but I do have the desire to get some mini goats here pretty soon. I think I got my husband, in agreement to do that, but it takes time, right? And it takes effort, in building these enclosures and these homes for them to live in. So it takes lots of resources, from money to going and getting the equipment and the lumber and such like that we need in order to build these safe enclosures for them. And with the price of lumber right now, might
For
have to give
sure,
my
yeah.
left arm for it.
Yeah, for sure. That's interesting because I was gonna be like, yeah, so if you could have like any animal in addition to what you have, what would you get? So you said a mini goat. That's cute.
Yeah, not just one. You got to have two because you have to have a
Companions,
companion, right?
for sure. Now, was your husband and then your kids, were they like always on board with the farm? Did they like it from the get-go, or was it kind of like challenging to get them on board?
So it was challenging, for my husband at first because it does take a lot of responsibility. And then with that responsibility takes away that one-on-one time and connection, from the family. So you have to sacrifice a little bit of time spending quality time with each other, in order to tend to the farm, because there's things that pop up that we may not be able to get in the evenings. We may have to, like, right now we need to go out even though it's raining, so that put a stop to it, but we need to go out and kind of batten down the hatches on the enclosure that the chickens and ducks are in to keep them safe from the intruders.
Mm.
But my oldest son, he loves the idea of hunting, fishing, farming. He is all for it, so he is a
Aw.
super big help. He is 11, almost 12 years old, so he is growing into a young man, a teenager per se, and so he's really for it. Now, my younger two are kind of like weirded out. They don't want to go in the coop because they don't know if the chickens are gonna like peck at them or
I'd
anything
be the
like
same
that.
way.
So yeah, they kind of just stand off and just take it all in. But I think in time, they're going to be comfortable enough to really get in there and get dirty. So my little one, like sometimes he'll follow me into the coop, or into the enclosure and open up the coops in the morning time to let the flock out. But after they're out, he's out. Like he's booking it out because he's not sticking around to see if those roosters want to come for him. So it has been challenging, but they're so supportive with my
Mhm.
dream to have a farm that it really makes it worthwhile.
That's awesome. Also, I just wanted to say, if you are joining us here today, we're super appreciative of your support. If you feel so compelled, go ahead and share the video on your page. That way, more people can see kind of the message and what we're trying to convey in the world. So feel free to share it. And then also, so just kind of along with the farm. I just really love, I just want to say, like, I just really love, like I told you before, how you have the whole family involved. And you said, it's showing them responsibility. It's showing them, I feel like, love because they're having to like take care of these animals. And then, you said sometimes it takes away quality time, but in my eyes, it's actually kind of building quality time because you guys are doing something as a family that's for like a greater good. Like you said, you're able to give away eggs when you have extras or sell them. So it's teaching them financial responsibility. It's teaching them so much more than you even think about right from the get-go. So I think that's super cool. In addition to a farm, or the chickens or the ducks, you also have a garden. So I seen your video of your guys' kind of first squash that you were able to harvest. What other kind of things do you have in the garden, or what are some of the things that you hope to have maybe next year? What's that process been like?
Oh, that's a great one. Okay, so I thought, that I never in a million years thought I would have like a green thumb per se, because I mean, I have a hard enough time keeping the kids alive and the animals alive, let alone plants, right? 'Cause you have to tend to those too. But I
For sure.
have, again, this desire to provide meals from our home sustainably, provide for our family healthy meals. And so this year, this is like our first summer, or spring, summer in the home, the new home, because we just moved here in August. And so I was like, I want to have a garden. We have the space to do so. And so I had this desire. Now, it's been a lot more challenging than what I thought. I thought, well, I'll just go out and buy these organic plants, these vegetable plants, and I'll just put them in the ground and they'll just thrive and do their thing and feed my family. Well, say more intruders came along, right? So now I have rabbits coming in and they're eating my plants up. So then we had to build a fence around that. And now they're digging under the fence and still helping themselves. But this year we started with tomatoes. I love tomatoes. It's really hard to keep those on the plants because the little ones go out there and the cherry tomatoes, they just pop them right in. I have some other tomatoes, not just cherry tomatoes, so I can some like tomato sauce and things like that. So we have some food in the wintertime that we can depend on, especially if we get snowed in, or like right now, we have the threat of being flooded in. So I have some food that I have canned that I'm able to depend on that to feed my family in times of need. I planted some broccoli, but those rabbits had taken all of my broccoli. I planted some cabbage, and I planted 2 purple and 2 green, and well, they ate all my purple, so those are gone. I planted some peppers. They got my 1 lunchbox pepper, but they left my jalapeno. I wonder why, because it's a little spicy, so they didn't like that one. And then the squash. Boy, the squash is just thriving. And my mother-in-law told me that would be the one plant that I would be planting that would really flourish and thrive and be great yield, and I would be able to get a pretty good harvest out of that. And so my hope is that if I have an overabundance of those, then I can just bless others with some crop too, to be able to experience a homegrown garden, farm fresh to table, a meal for their family too.
That's awesome. What's something, I guess, that you guys didn't get a plant this year, or maybe something that didn't survive that you guys are hoping to plant again next year or do next year?
Cucumbers, girl.
Cucumbers.
Cucumbers. I wasn't able to find any organic cucumber plants this year. I think it was because we waited too long in the springtime to go out and buy plants. And we had actually took a family vacation down to Kentucky to go visit my brother, and I was so thankful my best friend was able to go over, because we also have a farmer, a local farmer that we get farm fresh from. And so they're an organic farmer, and they were having a a plant sale at one of the local health food stores. And so I left her some money, and she was in agreement that she would go over and we would FaceTime each other, and she would go through all of the plans and get me what I wanted, because they had a sale going on. So it wasn't just
Hmm.
getting the plants, I was getting the plants at a discount too. And so that was amazing, but they didn't have any cucumber. So next year I'm going to be on it. I'm right at springtime. As soon as we're able to get those crops in the ground, I'm going to be at the store getting me all the things that
Some
that we
cucumbers.
weren't able to have this year.
Nice. Have you guys ever tried to like plant something from a seed, or just do you mostly just use the plants? Because I feel like that would be easier, but I know the seeds sometimes take
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah, so this year we did not plant anything from a seed. With this being our first time ever having a garden, I kind of wanted to have a
For
hand up and have somebody do, I think, quite a bit of the work for me and being able to get it up and sprouting. So we would just replant those when they're already quite a bit tall into the ground, and then they were already flourishing when we got them. So yeah.
nice, nice. I know you kind of talked about, you love being able to bless others. And I just from kind of what I've seen from your journey, faith is a big part of who you are. Were you, I guess, did you grow up in the church, or um, I guess what kind of impact does faith play in your life?
Oh, that is an amazing, amazing question, which then can open up the door for my testimony, right? And so, as a child, my mom was a single parent of 4 children. And so, church was daycare, basically. It was the one day a week that she could send the kids off to church and she could have time to herself. And so, in a way, I was first forced to go to Sunday school so mom could have time to herself. So when I became a teenager and I was able to stay home and go run off and play with my friends, I no longer went. And that's when I went down that path of destruction. I'm going to call it destruction because I really did dig myself into a hole, but I was able to climb out. I made some really bad choices, and I landed up as a teen mom, and it wasn't up until me and my husband lost our first daughter, so our second child, that I really came to faith and came to the Lord. That was a very traumatic experience. And when I came home from the hospital, my husband's Bible that he was gifted as a child was sitting on the nightstand, and something just told me to pick it up and read it. And so I did. I picked it up and I started reading it. And then I had the desire to go back to church. And so we took me quite some time to talk my husband into going to church. Just like me, he was forced to go to church as a child for daycare purposes, for his mom and his stepdad to get alone time. And so at that point, it took me quite some time, but I ultimately conveyed him to go with me. And so we started going to church with a friend of his, which was also a little bit of help in convincing him to go, because his friend invited us to go to church with them. But turns out that church wasn't for us. And so I call it church hopping. So we would go and visit these different churches to see which one would best fit us. And so we came to a local church about 6 years ago, and we really fell in love with this church. It was, lights, camera, action, worship time. The sermons always seemed to hit us in a way that we walked away with something to work on ourselves with. But when COVID hit, we started going to church at home, and it wasn't really fulfilling us in the way that we needed to be fellowshipping with other Christians and things like that. So we found a local church who never shut down and was I kind of want to keep it non-political here, but had the same beliefs of that we do with the trials what COVID brought. And so I started going there because then yet again my husband was caught in the trial of I was comfortable with this church. Now you want me to go to that church. I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm going to like that church. So we started going to Covell Community Church about 6 months ago, and I really, really fell in love with their sound doctrine, their teaching. It just felt like I was home all along. So Vale Church, which is the one that we were with for 6 years, is quite big. And so they really don't have one-on-one connection, like the pastor doesn't really have one-on-one connection with each of the congregation. And so Covell, it's really small, it's really tight knit. It took us no time to just mesh in well with the church family per se. And so here we are, we attend every Sunday. We're going to Bible study, we're helping when we can. And it's an amazing experience to see from where we started to where we are now, how God has changed us and transformed us and shaped us into who He has always desired us to be. And then with that, our children, we're seeing them now picking up their Bibles and reading their Bibles and sharing things that they're learning from Scripture. And so it's amazing what you can do through Christ. Like, all things are possible through Him. And so that's my favorite verse, Matthew, I think it's 12:26. Maybe I don't have my notebook. I wrote it down earlier, but it's all things are possible through Christ. I know that much because I'm telling you, he has been a miracle worker for me in my life. And so I know that He can do the same for others.
Wow. Whew, it's so much to unpack there. First and foremost, just I asked you before, how comfortable you are sharing your testimony. So I just want to congratulate you on being able to be transparent and just share that difficult moment, because it is a trying, challenging time. But I think so much in those most kind of broken moments are when Christ is able to come to us and like pull us out. So, praise God for that. And I'm happy that, you were able to find a community that fit for you. So I know some people, they're like, hey, church really isn't for me. They like to worship or connect with God in other ways. And I know for me, I want to be part of a community kind of like you. But everyone has their own kind of journey. So I'm just happy that you guys were able to find yours, and then you were able to get your whole family involved once again. I think that's just kind of speaks to you and your impact and how you're able to inspire others. So that's super cool. Among the many hats, you are also a caretaker for your grandparents. So I know that process could be challenging from so many aspects, not only time, but just also it's responsibility, just so much. So what kind of how has that process been like for you?
Okay, so I have been a CNA on and off for the past 11 years. So I have also, experienced taking care of the elderly and a deeper impact on helping them preserve their dignity and their independence. And so at that point in time, but that I took on this responsibility, my grandmother had a stroke. And she was caring for my grandfather, who is a double amputee, and so he has no legs. And at that point in time, she could not care for him any longer. So then the threat came of, well, if she can't care for him and he can't care for himself, what's the next step? So there was some thought that if we couldn't figure something out, that they would have to go to a nursing home. And working in long-term care, I thought, man, that is going to be rough, rough on them and rough on us family too, because of COVID. In the midst of that, there's no visitors allowed. They're shut in. Nobody can come in and nobody can come out. And so I happened to lose my nanny. I was working full time at a semi dealership and we lost our nanny. And so I had to come home to help the kids with their schooling. They were doing online schooling at that time through the school district. And so I came home because I had no one to care for my children while I was at work. And then my mother asked me if I could take on the responsibility of being my grandparents' home care aide per se, to be their caretaker. And I was honored to do so because when my maternal grandfather had passed away in 2013 from cancer. I worked full time at the nursing home, and he again was being threatened to have to go to the nursing home because the care that he needed wasn't a possible. And so I would go to work full time and I would come home and take care of him in the evenings and at night. So we kind of moved in with him. So I feel like God commanded us to take care of the elderly. And so I was honored to have the opportunity to go and take care of my grandma and her husband. So it's kind of like my step grandfather, but he's been my grandfather as long as I can remember. So he's just grandpa. There is no step. There is no half. He is just grandpa. And so it has been challenging for me because I'm taking care of ultimately two households. Helping grandma, she has dementia. Onset of dementia, and so she's starting to get more forgetful, so she's needing more help with like bills and remembering what she's going to the grocery store for. She's no longer able to drive, so there is a lot of responsibility between two households, but it is all worth it because I know one day God is going to call them home, and I'm not going to have any regrets about not stepping up to the plate when it was offered to me to do so because of the experience that I have with caring for the elderly. So I'm honored, and I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest with you. And I'm able to take my kids with me too and homeschool them. So that is another opportunity that God set forth, that I was able to do that. I always had the desire to homeschool my kids, but this day and age, it takes two full-time workers, two full-time incomes in order to meet the needs of the home financially. And so I'm able to do that with caring for them, and I'm able to homeschool my children too. So I guess losing my job was a blessing in disguise after all. Yep.
From kind of that process of stepping up to be their guardian or take care of them, what was like the biggest lesson, or what was something you kind of learned in that process?
That's a good one. Probably patience, because of how forgetful that she is. And my grandpa is starting to present some alcohol-induced dementia from his days before he lost his legs. He was a severe alcoholic due to some PTSD that he suffered from Vietnam. And so he is not always willing to care for himself or allow me to care for him. So it takes a lot of patience because you sometimes get caught in their whirlwind of what day it is, or forgetting what they were going to the next room for. And then his resistance of care at times too, because you want the best for them. You want them to get the care that they need, but if he is resistant of cares, I can't force it upon him because it is his right to decline that. But for me, it's hard because I'm like, I just want you to get out of bed, I don't want you
You're
to
just
lay
trying to
there
help
for the
them.
rest of your life and things like that. So, yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it just doesn't go that way, and you just have to respect their wishes and just go with the flow.
Nice. I think it's like crazy how we think sometimes we go into things with one mindset, right? Like you're going in, I'm going to help them or whatever, and then you learn so much throughout the process that you discover things about yourself through that process that you wouldn't even have thought about, right? Like, um, it is a challenge, but at the same in the same aspect, like you said, like this is valuable time that you're being able to spend with them because our time here on earth is limited, so you're seeing things from that aspect and you're just gaining like a whole new insight. um, I'm sure your guys' kind of relationship, do you feel like it has grown since you've been able to be closer with them, or I don't know, has the closeness kind of brought you guys further apart? What would you say about that?
Oh, no, it has definitely brought us together because they live 45 minutes away. And
Mm.
so, before, like I said, working full time, I was barely ever able to get up there to visit them. And I lived with a lot of guilt from that, from day to day, because you if you have good grandparents, you have this desire to be active in their lives and them to be active in your lives. And especially for my children, I wanted them to know them, and remember them when they were gone. And so being able to go there and care for them full time, where I'm able to fulfill that. And my relationship with my grandmother has tremendously gotten better. And I've learned so much about my family history that I
Oh.
probably would have never known if I wasn't given this opportunity to spend ample time with her, to hear these stories. And then my children get to hear those same history stories. And she brings out pictures and things like that. So you kind of feel like you're living in those old times firsthand when you're bringing out those black and white pictures, and she's telling us stories about how they used to live on a farm. So like today, I told her that we lost our duck, and I said, Grandma, I just don't know, do I get him another companion? How long do I wait? And she said, oh, absolutely, honey. You get him another girlfriend, but it's going to take time. So give him a little bit and then go and find him the right one. But don't be surprised if at first he's not warmed up to her, because all things take time. And I thought, I'm just so thankful to have her in these times, even if dementia steps in and robs her joy and her memory at times. We have breakthroughs like this, and she's able to share her experiences with me that I can then come home and use in my own home and my own farm.
That's beautiful. I know for me, when I'm around family members as well, and I just hear the stories of the past and how my mom and her sisters and siblings had grew up, it's just amazing to me. I'm an only child, so it's like, oh, I would love to be able to, I guess, have some of those memories. And I'm like, these are the times I hate being an only child, but you gotta take what you're given, right, in life. So
That's right.
everything is set in stone for a purpose. So your mission, you kind of told me you live by like a certain mission, three words that really embody who you are. I guess, what is your mission, and then we'll get into um, your weight loss journey.
Great. Yes. So if I had to think about my mission in life or my passion, it would be to educate, empower, and inspire mothers like myself in their weight loss journey, that they can do hard things and all things are possible through Christ.
That's beautiful. You kind of shared, about you gave us your testimony and kind of what makes you who you are, um, and how you became to faith through your loss. Can you share, I guess, with everyone about your weight loss journey, and I guess, how do you yeah, just take us on that journey, if you will.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I I always, from the time I can remember, as far back, I've been emotionally attached to food, and that goes with any emotion, really. Um, when you're happy or you're excited, you celebrate with a party or a cookout. And you have food as a celebration, a birthday cake, ice cream, things like that. And then when you're sad, sometimes you cope by eating sweets and things like that. So when I became a teen mom, I spent most of my pregnancy, when I was not working, laying around and eating food, because I'm pregnant, I'm feeding for two, I can just do whatever I want, and when the baby's out, I can work on that later. So when my son was born, I felt like the weight had dropped off pretty quick. But then when we lost our daughter, that was a dark time for me. And so then I began to emotionally eat again. And the weight packed on, and the weight packed on. And I didn't really think about it. But now that I look back, I can see where that was an issue. And when you look back in pictures, I can see where the weight started packing on. And so that really was a big trigger for me, is emotionally eating. And then when my second daughter, when she was born, I again didn't think there was an issue with my weight. I thought, oh, it's just normal. But I couldn't get the baby weight off per se. And then with my last son, our youngest one, I just really hit rock bottom. I had no energy. I had no gumption to do anything. I called myself a lazy couch potato back then. I would mother from the couch. I just didn't have any energy to do anything. And so my son had became vaccine injured. And so that took us on a huge rabbit hole per se, and started researching a lot of research. I would spend my nights up researching things. I was struggling with PTSD still from my daughter passing away, severe anxiety from her passing, and I was afraid that my children would be called home at any moment in time, and I would have no choice in the matter per se. So I know I'm bouncing around here a lot,
No,
but
you're fine.
it wasn't up until my son started having health issues, which we believe is linked to vaccines, did I start realizing how toxic the life that we are living, most of us today, how it was affecting my weight and my health, and then my children's health too. So the biggest trial at that time was his asthma. And so he was attached to a nebulizer so much. I felt so horrible for him. I was a stay-at-home mom, but I did provide childcare in the daytime. And I would work in the evenings at the nursing home as a CNA. And I would spend my nights researching, what was in the vaccines that were causing these things to go on in his life, and how I could fix them per se. So we were looking for a holistic practitioner locally, and we kept hitting dead-end roads. Our insurance wouldn't cover them. We couldn't afford it out of pocket. So we started going to what I feel is the next best thing, which is a chiropractor. So we started going to the chiropractor, and she started sharing things with us, how to try to heal his body from these injuries that he'd sustained from vaccines. And then with that research and her guidance, then I discovered that the life that I was living with, ultimately being sick and tired of being sick and tired, I could do something about that too. So not only could I support his body but I could also, and since I needed to support my body and heal my body too, so um, I had ample energy and gumption and all these things to take care of my family the way that they should be taken care of. As a parent, you want to be able to get up and you want to play with your kids. You want to go to the park. You want to run around with them. But when you're overweight, you're literally tied down by that weight and you are limited to the things that you could do. And so I really just took my family's health back, and I started just drowning myself in research, and that's when we discovered essential oils. And so that's how essential oils became a part of our life. The chiropractor had suggested some detox baths with essential oils to kind of help heal my son's body from the vaccine injuries. So we started playing around with essential oils, and they really weren't doing anything for us. And so I started looking into what is with this whole essential oil thing, because she just told me to use these essential oils in the bath 3 times a week, and that was it. So I didn't know much more from that. But I started in, what was it? 3 years ago is when things really, so he was about a year old, and I really cracked down. I really got to it. And I was 210 pounds at that point in time. And I got down to 125 just by detoxing our home and eating whole meals or whole foods and things like that. So I started with diet, not dieting like diet pills or restricting what we were eating, like in amounts and things like that. So I really just took it back to nature. I believe our bodies are a temple, and that we should care for our bodies the way that God has designed them to be. And he designed our bodies in a miraculous way to be able to get us through life and to heal itself in times where they're injured or that they had bumped into something. So we just started eating natural food. So if it isn't from an animal and it isn't grown from the ground, we try not to eat it. Now, I'm not saying that we don't go out to eat every once in a
For
while,
sure.
but because we gave our bodies a break, they ultimately know what to do with these toxins that we bump into. So as the mom in the home, I believe I'm the gatekeeper. So I get a say of what comes in my home and what doesn't come in my home. And so that's where I believe most of us should start, is just being more aware of what we bring in our homes and what we're exposed to. So within that weight loss journey, I felt just so compelled to help others in the same instance that they're stuck in, the vicious cycle of being sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Wow. So much to unpack there, right? I'm like, oh, I'm writing down questions and my wheels are turning. First and foremost, just like thanks so much for sharing that story with us as well. A couple of things kind of you had talked about like detoxing your home. What does that process, kind of just a short quick rundown of like what does that process look like for you?
Okay, so what that process is ultimately is reading the labels on the back of your products. Okay, so if you are needing to wear safety glasses or rubber gloves or open up the window when you're cleaning your shower, those cleaning products are ultimately damaging your body, from your hormones to your respiratory system to your immune system. And I wasn't aware of those things. So we don't know what we don't know. And you grow up in your home and your mom is using Tide laundry detergent, Clorox bleach to clean everything. And you just go with it, right? Because you don't know any different. So when you have your family and you're out on your own, you purchase those same products on the shelves that you grew up with. And for me, I did that exact same thing, but with research, I discovered of how harmful they are. So, natural plant-based products is where it's at. And I say go slow and steady, because slow and steady wins the race, right? Baby steps to everything. And you're going to see your life be transformed. And so these products that we were using were actually triggering my son's asthma, and I didn't know any better. And so when we started detoxing these cleaning products and these candles from our home, his asthma got so much better. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
And then detoxing our bodies, right? That's another big thing on a weight loss journey, because a lot of people don't know this, but if it is not natural, your body doesn't know how to get rid of it. And so it stores up in your fat. So your fat cells store the toxins in it because it's not natural. It doesn't know what to do with it. And when one layer of fat is full of toxins, your body has to create another layer to store those toxins in it. So when you start detoxing your life and detoxing your body, then your body is able to eliminate those toxins and break down those fat cells and destroy them and send them out on their way too.
Wow. I think it's so interesting that kind of the message I'm getting from this specific point is just kind of like the power of choice, right? Like you said, you grew up, with your mom using these specific products, and I use them today. But it's just like each individual has like the power of choice, and I really love the fact when you said, these challenges that you're facing with your son, that it was kind of the trigger to catapult you as well. And I think that's super impactful. I just shared a quote this morning, and I'm like drawing blanks on exactly how it was phrased, but essentially, you are what you see. So if he's seeing, mom using, these products, or if he's seeing you eat this, have these unhealthy habits, we are who we are surrounded by, so we're following these same patterns as well. So you were able to change because of, you wanted a better life for him. So that's cool as well. I will say that I did, of course, you read through your profile, and I was wondering, I was like, I hope this, doesn't cause any conflict, because like you said, it is a political matter about the vaccine. I am not an anti-vax person, so I did actually get the vaccine. And I just think it's cool how we can come together. We have difference of opinion, but we're able to, still we have similarities in our faith and on other things. So we're able to come together and in those commonalities. So I think that's cool as well. I think it just shows how adult we are, and how we're able to have these educational conversations and not lash out at each other. So I appreciate that as well.
Yeah, no problem.
So
And I don't label myself as an anti-vaxxer. I'm for, making.
I don't want to put any labels on you either, so sorry about that. Yeah. We're not out of time, but we are kind of in the near getting close to time, and I want to be respectful of your time as well. In that process, you kind of came across essential oils first. Is that the essential oil component? Is that what kind of got you on, I guess, the weight loss journey, and then involved with Young Living, or how did that process play out?
Yeah, so before we even got started with essential oils, I was already researching,
Okay.
How food affects our body, because ultimately food is the fuel for our
For sure.
bodies. And so if we're not putting for instance, if we're not putting the right kind of gas in our vehicles aren't going to run optimal. So
I love that analogy as well.
I wasn't putting the right kind of food in my body, so my body wasn't running right. So I had already started changing the way that we had eaten, with getting the processed foods and the sugars out of our diets. And one thing that stuck out with me is I had a nurse practitioner tell me one time at a doctor's visit, if I wanted to lose weight, cut out one soda a day, and I would lose X amount of weight in this time frame. So when I really started, my weight loss journey, that kind of like popped up in my head, and I thought, She's probably right, because I was highly addicted to soda pop. I mean, I was drinking soda all day long. No water, absolutely none. So I cut out the sugars, and then I started cutting out the processed foods, and it just kind of fell off. Well, then I had plateaued in a sense. And when we started using the essential oils for my son, um, we had just ordered some off of Amazon, and they weren't giving us the results that we intended for them. So I started researching more about, okay, what's the difference between essential oils and the providers of essential oils? And we bumped into Young Living because a mutual friend of mine and my father-in-law's, I put a post on Facebook asking if any friends or family members use essential oils and what's up with them, basically. And so his friend offered to come over to me, to my home. I was a daycare provider at that time, so somebody coming to me so I don't have to take the kids out, that's wonderful. So she came over to my home and shared with me why she chose Young Living and what Young Living standards were all about and things like that. So I got started with Young Living because their seed to seal commitment really blew everybody else out of the water. So the difference between Young Living and other essential oil providers are they own their farms and they raise their own crop that they get these essential oils from.
Wow.
And so they raise those crop, they call it beyond organic, because they ultimately have control over the fields and how they treat their plants and things like that. So they don't have any herbicides or pesticides in their fields. They hand weed all of them. But what really got me is their foundation. I love to serve and help others, you know, and their foundation is ultimately that. So they help end modern day slavery, sex trafficking. They go to third world countries and have farms there, like wherever the plant from that the essential oil originates from, they go there. So for an instance, if something originates from Africa, they'll go to Africa and they'll buy farmland, but that farmland has to meet that same criteria. It has no pesticides, no herbicides for so long, and then they hire the locals to tend to the crop. And then they build schools and they pay for the schooling for the children in that community. So they really just give back to third world countries and things like that. And that inspired me to be a part of something bigger than that I could ever imagine. So I just started rounding up my orders and donating change to it, you know, just change. I thought that's the least that I can do, and it made an impact. So yeah, I think that starting detoxing my home and being aware of what I was putting on my body and in my body really jump started my weight loss back again. I was no longer plateauing. The weight was back falling off, and I'm down to a point where I've never felt any better in my whole entire life. And let's face it, guys, I'm not getting any younger. I'm not getting any younger.
Well, you look great, so it doesn't matter how old you're getting, right? So besides the essential oils, what other products can people find or come to you to get from Young Living purchases, or what other products are there?
Yeah, so they have all kinds of products, from cleaning products to personal hygiene products to makeup and supplements. But I love all of their products because they are ultimately infused with essential oils. So they smell
I didn't know
good.
that.
They're natural plant-based products, and so you're not harming your body by lathering your body up in these personal hygiene products. So instead of going to the local supermarket and purchasing these products, I just purchase them from youngliving.com, my own account, and have it shipped right to my door, which saves me time because then I don't have to go to the grocery store and go grab them.
Wow, that's convenient, and it just sounds like such a great organization that has the mission to give back. They're cultivating their own products right from their own farm, so they know exactly where they're coming from. So are you, I guess, what's your position with them? And then in addition to that, what other kind of things are on the horizon for you?
Yeah, so it was about a year after we were using their products and ditching and switching in our home is what we call it. Ditching the products from the local supermarket and switching over to Young Living. Did my friend share with me, hey, you're sharing you're telling your family and your friends about how you love these products. Have you ever thought about promoting the product and helping others change their lives with these products and earning a paycheck? And I thought, I don't know if I'm going to be good at that. I'm not a salesman. I couldn't sell, a paper bag to, a homeless guy. I don't know if I could do that. But I really just bumped into it. And so it's just like, after I started on my journey, I couldn't shut my mouth about it. Just like if you find your favorite restaurant or your favorite movie, you're going and you're not selling it to people, but you're telling them about your experience, which then wants them to have the same experience. And if I can get a paycheck from doing that, why not? So
Heck
I'm
yeah.
a brand partner for Young Living. I promote their products. I help change people's lives with those products. Like I said, I educate, I empower, and I inspire others to do the same thing. And then on the horizon, I am in the process of becoming a licensed spiritual healer. And really what that means is we go through things in our lives, traumatic experiences, emotional things that are attached to our bodies, and those ultimately create negative ailments or issues in our health that can be linked back to emotions. And so helping people release these baggages and help them just figure out the root cause of their health issues and how they can support their bodies to have their bodies heal themselves like God intended it to do.
Wow. That sounds super, super impactful, and I'm excited to just learn more about that journey and follow you on it as well. So I'm excited to see where that goes. What would you say, kind of, we've uncovered a lot of things and all in the many roles that you play. What would you say kind of would be your like biggest accomplishment throughout your journey so far?
Ooh, good one. Good one. Okay, so I think my mindset. My mindset would probably be the biggest accomplishment. I am more optimistic. I feel I'm more joyful now, and it leaches onto others. And that's kind of who I want to be remembered to be when I leave. When it's my time to go, I want to be remembered as someone who was helpful, someone who was joyous, someone who was optimistic, and it bled on to others, and then they had the desire to be the same way, to follow Christ and to live in his image.
I would definitely kind of just say for sure your energy is super infectious. And like I said, I was like, I need to talk to her. So you're definitely living
Yeah.
that out. Throughout everything, kind of what would you say were some of the biggest challenges that you've had to face?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge I've had to face is probably the fear of unknown. So fear can really stop us dead in our tracks, and that's something that I've had to kind of lean on to the Lord about, is the unknown of what the future holds, and just ultimately know He knows everything that has happened. He knows everything that's happening right now, and He knows everything that's going to happen. So not allowing that fear of the unknown to stop me dead in my tracks to further progress in the life that I desire to have.
It's a good one. That's I think fear and the fear of unknown hold so many people back. So just being cognizant and aware of that is truly, I think, life changing. Um, and then kind of to wrap it up, and then we'll get into the hot seat questions here. And then if you want to share anything else, feel free to as well. Throughout everything, just kind of some words of advice that you would give to someone who maybe has been in your shoes, or someone who would like to be an entrepreneur or someone kind of along that same journey, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I would say to them to not let fear rob their joy, honestly, and that all things are possible through Christ and that we can do hard things because we can do hard things. We do not give ourselves enough credit that, I mean, if we put our mind to it and we lean on the Lord, all things are possible through Him.
Nice. Well, I appreciate your time. Right now, we are going to get into some hot seat questions. So first, I'm trying to link it back to kind of the things that we've talked about today. What would you, she's like, let me take a drink for this. Have no fear. It's going to be super simple. So the hot seat for everyone who's watching or everyone who might watch on the replay, these are just some fun, or maybe in Amanda's case, kind of more centered around her journey and what she's been on, but just questions that I don't really tell them ahead of time, so they have no idea going into this. Sometimes they're like, oh man, what is she going to ask me? These are totally chill, so no worries. What is your favorite meal to cook? I know you have a lot of videos, food videos, and things that you like to make. What would you say your ultimate favorite meal to cook is?
Ooh, that's a good one. I actually recently discovered this one, and it's a breakfast casserole.
Okay.
And it is an apple casserole. And really, how I bumped into this is I had some apples that were going bad, and I needed to use them up. And so I'll tell you guys my secret on how to make it. You just dice up your apples, you melt some butter, throw a little bit of cinnamon in it, stir it up, pour it all over the apples, and add granola to the top, and then drizzle honey over it and bake it in the oven at 350 for about 25 minutes, and it is delicious.
That
My
sounds really
kids
good.
and husband devoured it. But you can also use it as a dessert too. So you can leave it warm, and you could throw some vanilla ice cream on it, and it is to die for.
That sounds yummy. All right, next question is, if you could have any superpower, what would you choose?
Mm. Wow, this one's gonna stump me, huh? I would say strength.
Strength?
Super ultimate strength. Yeah.
That is a
Yeah.
good one. I feel like from your journey and what you've shared and just your growth, you already have that strength that you need. So, but I mean, added strength doesn't hurt, right? So,
No.
all right. What would be your ultimate favorite essential oil? You
Ooh.
only can pick one, so no combos.
Mm.
She's
Okay.
wearing the
Okay.
essential oil shirt, so I had to throw that in there.
All right. So my favorite one right now is actually called One Heart.
Okay.
And this is a foundation oil. And One Heart was formulated in the midst of COVID and the craziness of the world that we're living in right now, is to just synchronize and to bring everyone back together. And so I love to wear this one as perfume. So I just put a couple drops on my wrist and then rub it behind my ears, and then I can just smell it all day long. But it's so calming, and I love the smell of it right now. It's my favorite.
Okay. What is it? What, like, if you had to describe the smell, what would you say? It kind of smells similar to anything, or
It's very floral.
floral? Okay. Nice. All right. So you are a wife, right? What would you say your ultimate, if you had a plan, like the ultimate date, what would that be?
Ooh. My ultimate date would probably, and this is a dream of mine too, and so I believe that this dream will be fulfilled in the very near future. But we have never been to the beach. My husband or me have never stepped foot on silky sand or seen the ocean. So the ultimate date would probably be to watch the sunset
Oh,
on a
yeah.
sandy beach together.
I feel like it's definitely gonna come. Maybe this year, next year. I'm thinking this year, maybe. I'm manifesting it for you. So,
Awesome. Yes.
uh, kind of that segues into the next question a little bit. If you could visit, I guess, even let's say if it wasn't the beach in this case, just to make it fun, um, anywhere in the world, where would you want to visit?
Um, Probably Ireland because
Ireland?
I have a lot of Irish in me, and so I've always had the desire to go to Ireland. But that would take a lot of courage and strength again because I have a fear of flying, and so we would have to fly over there. But I'm betting with enough essential oils, I could probably do it.
Hey, you could take a boat. It might take a while, but no, no, I'm just joking. All right, and then to wrap it up, your favorite thing about being a mom?
Oh, snuggles for sure.
Snuggle.
Um, my children, well, my oldest son, like I said, he's 11, and so he's getting to the stage where he's not too affectionate, and so when they want to crawl up on the couch with me and snuggle and just enjoy each other's company, it really warms my heart, and I
Oh,
am sad to see that day come where I'm an empty nester and my house is going to be so quiet and clean that I'm not going to know what to do with myself.
aw. That's cute. All right, so we are at the end. Is there any kind of final message or anything that you want to share? And then we'll get into how people can follow you on your journey.
Mm. No, no, I think that we have covered so much about me that, oh, you know what? Well, since that comes about, I might as well just throw it out there that I think sometimes we need to be vulnerable and
Mm.
transparent in order to change others' lives, and that's exactly what I'm about. I'm an open book. There is nothing that I will not share with somebody that I have lived through, that I have experienced, especially when it can change others' lives.
Yeah, I told you before, but I'll just reiterate, like, I think that's why you are, you have the energy that you have, and because you are vulnerable and transparent and willing to share your journey. And I think that too often we as humans, we go through life and through our challenges and even through our excitement, we just think like, oh, we're very unique in this, or no one has face the same journey as me, which we are all individual, but we all go through challenges. And I think by sharing those, you are able to impact others. So I appreciate you spending this evening, this hour and 12 minutes with me today. I really enjoyed even learning about things I didn't know prior to coming into this. So I appreciate you 100%. And if people want to follow you on your journey, or if they want to purchase any of the products that you have to offer, how could they do that?
Yeah, so they can reach me on Facebook, Manda Knight. I like to go by Manda. So just chop off that A and Knight with a K. Or you can follow me on Instagram at a well mama of 4.
Awesome. Well, it's definitely been a pleasure speaking with you, and I appreciate you so much. So have a good rest of your night, and excited to follow you on your journey.
Thanks so
Thank
much for
you.
having me, guys. Take care.
Bye bye.